Greetings, people of the internet. This is Scott with CircWorks, and this is 100 Days of Making Comics, day 96. And what is 100 Days of Making Comics? It's where I put aside at least 30 minutes a day, or just 30 minutes a day, as I've been doing lately. Not much more than that. But to work on my own personal comic book projects. The project that I'm working on, or have been working on, is called Young and the Dead. It looks a little like this. This is issues 1 and 2. They're available at circworks.com. And it's kind of a cross between the Goonies and Night of the Living Dead. It's kids versus zombies. And I'm working on issue 3 right now. So rather than just doing an update, which I think that's kind of what I've been doing for the past couple episodes, I wanted to have a little bit of a topic, and this is one that it's kind of been on my mind that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but in order to do that I had to pull a bunch of old artwork out to show you guys. So basically the idea behind what I'm going to talk about is reworking your artwork. And I had, early on when I first started doing, I've been just doodling and drawing comics since I was a kid, but when I got out of high school and, in college and stuff like that, when I really wanted to actually try to break into the comic book business, I had this habit of just working on, pages and then scrapping it and doing it again and again and again. And I think a lot of other artists may have gone through this same thing, or maybe some of you guys still are. And I recently was able to kind of transition out of working like that, and it's helped my productivity so much. And when I first started doing that was when I started the first issue of Young and the Dead. And I said, look, I'm just going to just do this to the best of my ability right now with the time constraints and everything that I have, and just move on from there. Because, I really admire when you see artists that are really prolific and they put out a bunch of different, they're constantly putting out work. Well, I was in this habit of just redoing the same thing over and over again, where, yes, it was improving, and I don't want to say it was totally a bad thing, because as you can see when I show you some of the stuff, there is definitely progression and it gets better and better. But the problem was, I was searching for something that's perfect, and that's almost like an unattainable thing, really. And it's and because of that, I really, although I've been making comics for so many years, I really don't have a lot of comics to show people. So it's, for me, I always try to advise people, just pick a project, do the best you can with it, and then move on to another project. And then you'll have all these projects, and you can look back and maybe even after you've done this and all, maybe you want to go back to an earlier project that you worked on and revisit it. But at least in that meantime, you're still moving on and you're doing other things and everything. And this is, I've seen like webcomic people, and because they're putting things out right when they make it. Like usually they'll do a drawing and put it out, so they don't really have the luxury of redoing everything. And then I've seen some webcomic artists. Actually, I've been watching videos by Introducing Emmy, and she has a webcomic called Trying Human, and she's actually kind of going back and kind of redoing some of the beginning pages of her novel, but she's put out a whole bunch since then. So there are some benefits to doing that, but I just got caught in this cycle of constantly redoing the same artwork over and over again. And some of these projects still, they're just sitting there because they weren't perfect or whatever. But I finally got to that point where I was able to move beyond that, and it's really helped me. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there, see if you guys are having the same problem. And I still have that same problem like with sketchbooks, because I really need to keep a sketch. I've got sketchbooks here and there, but I'll draw something in it and I'm like, I don't want to really, this isn't great, it's just, but that's what sketchbooks are. And sometimes because I watch internet videos and things, and you'll see people like Will Terrell, who does these amazing sketchbook. Every single page of his sketchbook looks like a work of art, and it's so awesome. But I can't really think about that these pages need to be works of art. And maybe he would argue with that these are, but maybe he could do way better if it weren't just a sketch. But just really beautiful stuff, and I'm like, my sketchbooks don't look like that. When I draw something, it's I'm just not really happy with it. But that's really not what sketchbooks are about. So I really, with the sketchbooks, I've kind of done with the comics. I got to get over it with the sketchbook, because you hear it all the time, but it really is true that you need to draw every day, and I do, but I don't. I could be drawing more and exercising more in sketchbooks and coming up with all these ideas, and I really haven't been doing that, so that's something that I need to start doing. So I'm going to take you way back to show you what I'm talking about, and you'll see kind of how insane this was. So I'm going to show you some pages from an earlier comic book called Retrofits that I did, and it's kind of the story of this 1970s bubblegum pop group that they sort of just disappear in the 70s. They sort of just disappear off the face of the earth. No one knows where they are. And then at the time, this was I think this was like 20 or 25 years later. Now it's 40 years later, so the time would have to change, but they just reappear in modern times, and they have no idea where they've been, but now they have these superpowers. They don't know where they got them, what happened. So that's kind of the idea behind this story. But so the story begins kind of they're driving along in this VW bus, and here's kind of a double page spread. Now this is the first. This is going back, so this is and it's kind of light, so hopefully it'll show up. But this is the first scene that I did for this comic, and they're in this VW bus, and that's kind of what the artwork looked like then. It's really, I don't know, it's not really great, but if I would have just kept doing this and put it out, then it would have been something. So now this one's different because it's inked, so it's going to look a little different, and they're kind of big pages, so I don't know if I can show them side by side, but and this one was unfinished because I just abandoned it. But as you can see, I changed a few things. It's hard to tell because one's pencils and one's inked, but that was my second pass. I don't know if you can see the guy there. The glasses kind of changed. I made them look a little more of the time. As you can see here, these aren't your typical 70s sunglasses here. So change a few things there. So that's two versions, incomplete. Here's a third. Now I'm getting a little happy with it, but it's still very, I don't know, again, this is the 90s that I was working on this. So you've got all these little lines and stuff that don't mean a whole lot, and just trying to fill in space, and kind of the actual drawing of the inside of the bus, I think, is looking a little better there. So some improvements, but here's the bus. The bus probably changed a little bit. So that was my third try. Are we gonna have another one? Sure we are. Here's the fourth try. So, and this one I'm a little happier with. This one I could almost keep even today, and like if I do revisit this and the same thing, I've got, I think I'm up to like maybe 10-11 pages inked and some more pencils. If I ever finish this book, I think I'm just gonna start back from the old artwork. I don't think I'm gonna redo it or anything, because again, that's what I'm talking about. So for better or for worse. Now the other thing is, if this stuff was digital, that might be a different story. It might be easier to make these little tweaks, but anyway, so here is my fourth pass, and you can see, so now I'm a little more happy with the colors. I don't have too many of these crazy hatch lines and all that kind of stuff. Here you can see, it looks a little better. So yeah, so did I leave well enough alone? Not really. I did one more. So this is what it currently looks like, and this one if I go back, I think I would just keep it the way it is and pick up. So, and of course this is inked, so it's a little different, but here's that scene right here. So, as you can see, yeah, that's what I would do. I would just constantly redraw and redraw. And that's just the first page. I would go on and do the same thing, but let me show you, maybe I can throw this one character up and you can kind of see a comparison here. Where are they? If you can see this. This is gonna be hard to do. All right, let's see. So here we've got this character. These pages are massive. You can kind of, can you see that? So you can kind of see that's the first version, the second version, and you can kind of see how it's changed along the way. But yeah, so there is improvement, but you know, it's crazy that I would just do that, and because of that, I never got anything done. So here's another page. Let's see. So here's the second page, and I'll just flip through these a little quicker since, again, this was my first pass. Now look at, you know, the glasses are all kind of wacky, cocked, and crazy, and you know. So that was pass number one. Some of these, man, some of these faces and stuff are pretty bad. This is version number 2 of the page 2. There's version number 3, that same page. Getting a little bit better. And then the final one, which is actually inked. So, yeah, you know. I mean, I could look at stuff and there's definitely things I can improve on, but like I said, if I continue, I'd probably just continue from the most recent version. Here's another page. This is the third page. This is about, now when I talked about they disappeared, this kind of shows a little bit what happened. So they're driving along in this VW conversion van, and they're noticing this kind of pulsating just glob of something that they're about to head into, and then they just kind of disappear from there. So that was pass 1. Here's the redo here. And then another redo. And then again the final. So yeah, I don't know. Do you guys fall into that trap of just constantly reworking the same stuff, or am I alone in this? I don't know. So let me show you. Here's another version. Oh, I thought I had more of these. Let's see. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. So I would also do this with submissions. So I would submit stuff to, like, yeah, that was weird. My video just cut off, and I'm not really sure why it did that. So, so I was saying, yeah, I also would do these with submissions where I would just constantly redo. And some of them were when I would show them to an editor or whoever was going over these revisions, I would take, you know, their critiques and everything, and I would try to change it around. So that made a little more sense. But so I did this one. I don't know if you can tell what's going on. This is back again in the 90s. So Spawn was real big, and another character, Pit. So I did this Spawn and Pit battle. And again, this is you know, blue. You know, I would work in blue line, and then I showed this to an editor, and it says don't. The guy told me don't work in blue line. So you know. And again, I mean, that's the least of the problems with this page. But so I went back and redid that and you can see the 90s influences here. There's just, look at all that. It's just, how do you make this stuff out? But yeah, so you've got, it looks like there's a scene where Pitt, his hand is like punching or scratching Spawn, ripping through, if you can even make that out. And he's swinging down here. This is, I guess, Spawn. And then he's healing himself, or his mask is coming back over. And then here's a face-off between Spawn and Pitt. And so, yeah, so I did that, and then I decided later on that I was going to do a submission to just DC Comics. So I took the same scene, and I kind of change it to Batman and Lobo, which I think this one looks a little better. So here we got, you know, we've got Batman swinging down, but Lobo is punching Batman. He's all gnarled, staring back at him, and then they kind of face off. And that's one of the pages here. So here's a comparison. Previous to that page, we've got like a subway station, and Pitt is kind of coming down in this version anyway. Just smash it. Look at all that. Look at all that crazy detail that is just so hard to make out and doesn't make any sense. Anyway, can you see that? So yeah. So there's a scene there, and then later, when I redid it for the DC version, this is kind of the Lobo version. Now again, this is stuff that I created back in the 90s, so. So yeah, so that one I guess I only redid a couple of times. I probably had, no, 3, because I had that blue line one too. I don't know, I couldn't find that one. Here's another continuation. This is on the subway. It looks like, I don't know if Batman got on the subway and is chasing him or something. I don't know, or he flips up through there. Oh, I'm showing these backwards. So I guess I should show you this one first. This is the first one. So yeah, here's that kind of scene, and man, these I don't like. It's just, you know. So yeah, there's that scene, and here he's on top of the car, staring down at him over the, you know, over the subway track. And back to this. So this is, you know, here again, same scene but with Batman and Lobo. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, just that's, and because of that, I improved, but I really didn't, you know, I didn't have any output, you know, I didn't have any comic books to show people. I mean, even mini comics or things like that. So anyway, that's kind of a trap I fell into, and I was able to kind of get out of it. And maybe, you know, maybe that was necessary. Maybe that was just part of the whole learning experience. And of course, I'm still learning. I mean, I can still look at pages that I've just done, and I can say, ooh, I don't like the way that hand looks, or I don't like this. And sometimes I'll tweak it. Definitely won't redo the whole page, but sometimes I'll tweak it. You know, sometimes I'll just kind of let it go and let it be what it is, and just move on and try to not make that mistake in the future. So one thing that I've been talking about for a while, and it's playing over and over and again in my head, is just going digital. You know, just getting Manga Studio, the latest version, and learning the software. But it's always that learning curve, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. But I was watching an episode of Lean Into Art with Jersey Drozd and Rob Stininger, and they were kind of doing a tutorial about Manga Studio. And one thing that Jersey said was that the way he likes to learn is, I guess he had a comic book project that was a client project, and just learn as you're working on that project. And that, to me, that always seemed like the worst time to do it, because you're working for a client and it's like their time you're working on, and you're trying to learn this software. But then I started thinking about it. It seemed like it makes sense, because you've got to get this thing done, and then so it might be a way to do it. And I've got this client comic book project coming up, and I think it might be a good opportunity for me to start working digitally and just use that as an experiment. And it's not like an hourly thing, so and I'm charging whatever, a page rate or whatever, so it doesn't really matter to them how long it takes me a little extra time to learn it. But I think it's a good thing for me to do, and because I see all these digital artists and the way they can make corrections and change things so quickly, it amazes me, and I think it's something that would really, really help me. So I'm thinking about doing that once this project gets finalized. So I'll keep my fingers crossed, but man, just the stuff that program can do, I just know in the long run it's going to save me a lot of time. So just another productivity type thing. And so yeah, this one is going kind of long, but yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over all that stuff, and again, let me know if you guys have had that same issue of just redoing things to death or whatever. And once this other project gets started up and I start learning Manga Studio, I will be sure to clue all you guys in. It'll be after the 100 days is over, but I will be doing updates and things like that. So until tomorrow, you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you then. That is all.